Hello! Let me know when you can hear me. Somebody ruined their Chrome extensions in chat, apparently. I didn't even know you could do that. Hi! Thank you so much for letting me know that you can actually hear me. Sometimes people in chat are just like, what? Are you talking? Are you muted? And I'm totally not muted. I am in San Diego, by the way, and I am finally here after many, many hours of traveling. I think like getting to the US is usually somewhere in the region of a 2-day travel um, ordeal, essentially. It usually takes me about 2 days to get here. Blank! Good evening, Ania. Well, here it's not actually evening. Here it's the beginning of the day, which is interesting. I have no trouble conforming to American time at all, like because it's basically nocturnal time for Britain. I don't know if I was just designed to live in America or if I'm just nocturnal. One of the two. Isn't it early afternoon? It's something, okay, shut up. It's my morning, essentially. How's your day? Pretty good. I am very, very much enjoying the food. There's a lot more food, especially vegan food, available here than there is in my town. So I can order like freshly made vegan stuff to my door. Ah, so good. Ah! Can you give me a book recommendation? It depends on what kind of books you read, sweetheart. Do you read nonfiction? Do you read sci-fi? Do you read fantasy? Do you read what do you read? Because most of the books that I read are like stuff that is factual and helps me as a human being to understand shit. So I don't have that many fantasy novels, and the ones that I did read, I haven't read since I was like, I don't know, maybe 15 or something. Boink! It's probably safer and less expensive inside the UK, actually. What? The food? Yeah. What do you live for? So I kind of feel like I don't need a reason to live for. I feel like the phrasing, I don't live for anything. Um, I kind of feel like we've been taught from very, very early in our life that we need to be designated a purpose to serve, and that we somehow need to earn our place on this planet. Which is weird because no other animal does that. No other animal actually needs to earn their right to exist or to be happy or to have access to fresh water and shelter. We're taught that like you are not useful or valid unless you're serving something or someone, and I'm just not submissive enough for that. So, like, I don't look for a reason to serve, a purpose to serve. I genuinely want to contribute, but I feel like that's different. It's kind of like comparing the way we run society to how, like, bees or ants run society. They don't have money, they don't have jobs, they have roles. Like, nobody is waiting for a paycheck at the end of the day, and no one's flaunting that paycheck to go, I'm more important than you, and I'm serving a more important purpose than you. No, they all just have a role, and they still get leisure time, and they still get to have fun, they still get to have friends, they still get to do things that they care about, but they also contribute with their role um, to making sure that everyone has a home and some food. So I kind of feel like I'll contribute, but I don't serve. And I feel like the difference for me and the reason why that's so distinct for me is because I kind of feel like I didn't choose to be put on this earth. So if I was given something for free, I'm not going to pay for it. I'm sorry. Um, so if someone turned to me and went, your whole purpose is to make I don't know, little scratches on the side of this wall, and if you don't, then what will have been the point of living? I'll be like, good luck with that, and I will just still go and do what I want to do with my life. I feel like that's the way it is. I didn't sign a disclaimer, but I kind of feel like the things that I enjoy and the things that make me love existing and very grateful to exist, they're not the reasons I live, but the things that make me very grateful that I am, are things like getting to make the world a better place, getting to see really cool things, getting to learn about the history of the world, getting to find out how I ever came to be, learning about plate tectonics and evolution and all that sort of stuff is interesting and fun. Getting to taste food, play games, meet people, hear stories, all of that stuff is amazing. But I also get a lot of I learn a lot from the things that don't go well. I still, even the things that don't go well are a privilege and are amazing to endure because you learn from them and because even bad emotions are important. Like, we know and want to feel bad emotions. That's why we go on roller coasters and watch horror movies to be scared. We watch sad documentaries to be sad. Like, if we don't get enough of these emotions, we crave them. We actually look for media that will induce those feelings. So every drop of consciousness is worth existing for, in a way. Every drop of experience is worth existing for, no matter how it goes. Um, so yeah, there isn't anything in specific like a carrot on a stick that's dangled in front of me that keeps me breathing every day and trying every day. There isn't anything. Like, everything that's already happening is enough. I get the same feeling and have done most of my life and always felt worried that there was a problem with me. What do you think? Well, nefariously ignorant, I can't tell you whether there's a problem with you. There might be, for all I fucking know. But I'll tell you this now. I had an ex who said, so when I first started hanging out with him, he felt humiliated, but he still hung out with me. And the reason why was because he thought he was really intelligent. And then he met me and he realized there's a lot he doesn't know. Because whenever he brought up a topic, I'd often know more about it than him. Or if he was curious about something, I'd already know a lot about it. And so he was like, I thought I knew lots about the world, but I don't think I actually do. And I didn't realize that until I met you. And so he's like, meeting you was the first time I felt stupid. And this isn't a humble brag, it's going somewhere, right? So he also, when we started talking about, I started questioning him. So when he did something weird or said something bad, I would question him about it. And he wouldn't have an answer. And he went, I've always felt like I was a bit of a dick, but I couldn't put my finger on why. I've always worried that I wasn't a decent person, but I didn't know what was wrong with me or where to start. My instinct was that I wasn't doing things right, but I just didn't know where to begin or even what was wrong. And one of the things that kept happening is he'd say something really obnoxious or not okay, and I'd go, "Why the fuck would you think that?" And he'd be like, "What?" Because it was the status quo. Like, he and his friends were like proper British lads, and they always had a low moral compass. I feel like one of the distinguishing factors about British lads, people who consider themselves one of a lad, is they're usually an asshole, right? So he had no way to notice when he was being one because it was just the norm until someone questioned him, until someone pointed out the effects of what he was saying. Like, how do you think it feels to be asked that? How do you think it feels to be told that? What do you think it means about your perception of me that you even need to say that? And he'd be like, fuck, I didn't realize it. And after a while, he was like, I used to have a feeling there was something wrong with the way I was, but I didn't know what it was until I met you. And now I kind of get a grip for where I need to start. And he did eventually become a lot better of a person while I was with him, and it made me exhausted. And I will never date someone who needs working on ever again. I will, like, anyone who's constantly learning every day from me, like, they'll make a great friend, but I'm only gonna ever date people who, as an adult, act like an adult and don't need a guru, don't need someone to teach them how to human fucking decency. Oh my god, it was so exhausting. Um, because those people bulldoze through your personal life. They make mistakes because they don't know better, and then not only are you like, well, fuck, well, this is ruined now, this thing that you've bulldozed, or this thing that you've done terribly, or my feelings are hurt, and I have to teach you how to do better. And like, you're not gonna want and sit and teach someone you're pissed off at who's just hurt you. So it makes you suppress your feelings, and that's not good for you. That will actually hurt your health. So my whole experience with hearing those words once before, and I don't know if that applies to you at all, in any way, shape, or form, is that sometimes people's basic instincts about themselves can be right. Sometimes there is still something to work on. You just don't know where. But on the flip side, you can also be taught from a young age. You can also be wrong. You can also be taught that there's something wrong when you when there isn't. And I've experienced that because I grew up not knowing what Tourette's is, and I grew up not knowing or understanding tics. So I used to say offensive things to people, and I used to get punished for it. But I was like, why am I such a bitch? And why can't I control it? Like, I don't even feel this way. Why am I being so mean? Why am I telling people to fuck off and stuff? What is wrong with me? And so that was happening, and people were punishing me for it. So I thought there was just something wrong with me. When I got diagnosed with Tourette syndrome and I found out I couldn't, that no amount of therapy would have ever fixed this. No amount of like self-control would have ever fixed this. This was nothing to do with my identity or my personality. It's not a reflection on how I feel about anyone or anything. I was like in tears. I was like, wait, you mean I'm not a terrible person? Oh my god. I'd grown up my whole life thinking that I was terrible and that there was something wrong with me. And it turns out I just have a condition that totally isn't my fault. So, on the one hand, maybe you do have things to work on, and your inner voice is saying, hey, it's time to work on those things. On the other hand, maybe you don't have anything to work on there. Maybe you just feel flawed, and maybe it's an issue rather than an alarm bell. And if you can't tell the difference and you don't know which one it is, therapy can help. Therapy would be great. I wouldn't recommend forcing your girlfriend to work on you because that will end the relationship. You will just use someone's time and energy and they will grow to hate you and leave you. So, if you're going to pick anyone to help work on you and to help make you a better person, choose you and maybe a therapist. But don't force that work on somebody else. Everyone else is too busy raising themselves. So, you should raise yourself too. You should be your own parent. Hey, doctor, thank you so much. No, nobody ever reached out to apologize for punishing me when I was young. So most of the time I didn't go to school. Like I didn't do a lot of formal education when I was younger. So when I grew old enough to go to university, I was skipping a lot of days. If I had a lot of tick days, I would just not go to uni. I skipped all of the lectures and somehow still managed to pass most of my um, modules and stuff. I also learned how to suppress, but it just didn't last very long. So I could suppress for short periods of time, and that helped. Also, while I was depressed, the worst stages of my depression, I didn't really tick much, which makes sense because it's a dopamine related issue and you have low dopamine when you're depressed. So that wasn't so much of an issue. The main person who used to punish me the most as a child for my condition was my stepmother. So not my actual mom, just like my dad's ex. And yeah, she never apologized to me or anything, but she used to starve me. She used to exclude me. She used to call me an embarrassment. Sometimes she would just leave me home alone and then just take all of her kids and my dad to go to like events and things and say you can't come because there's something wrong with you and things like this. She would constantly jump down my throat and be waiting to have a go at me. Like if I was, so I had to live with her and her two kids, and she would stand outside the bedroom door listening in our conversations so she could rush in if I spoke about something that she didn't want me to. So like not only did she punish me for the ticks, they asked me why I was vegetarian as a kid, and before I could even answer, she rushed in, pulled me out by the ear, and was like locked me in my room before I could even answer. Like you're not gonna indoctrinate my kids with your bullshit sort of thing. Like she was very very overbearing. I missed my mom and I cried and I was drawing and I didn't even come and get her. I was just sat at table drawing and I cried because I missed my mom. I was just a little kid, maybe like somewhere between 6 and 8, I would imagine. And she came storming towards me from the kitchen and she was like, "You stupid little bitch, you think I'm gonna fall for it? You think you can emotionally manipulate me?" All this sort of stuff. And she starts screaming and shouting at me, "Go to your room!" All this sort of stuff. She was like a monster and a menace. Like she would no, I was vegetarian, no, wouldn't eat anything with meat in it, and then she would like go, "I've made you oxtail soup, it's only 1% oxtail. I'm sure you'll eat it. You're not gonna make a fuss, are you?" And then I wouldn't eat it, and she would get mad at me and not make anything else. So I'd just have to go to my room and starve. If I had any issues, like health issues or anything, she would tell everyone that my mom had caused them, even if I'd been living with her for ages, and if I had any issues with my health, it might be the stress and the starvation and the issues with her. She would also throw out my clothes that I came to the house with from my mom's, and she threw them all away one day. I had these boots that I loved and was so fond of with like Spider-Man laces. She threw them away when I went upstairs, and I came down like, "Where are my shoes?" And she's like, "Oh, I threw them away. Don't worry, I'll get you new ones." She didn't get me new ones for a couple of days, so I just had no shoes to leave the house. And then when she did, she bought me a bunch of clothes that were really strangely grown up. Like it was a crop top, like a boob tube, and a pair of bright pink skin tight flares. I used to wear really baggy clothes as a child, and she bought me all this like really form fitting, revealing stuff, and threw out my other clothes. So I had no choice but to wear them. And I'd sit there like this, like feeling really exposed and weird. And she'd make me go out with her. She'd take me to like see other, like she'd go and visit her friends and stuff. And I'd be stood there in it, just like feeling really awkward. And she'd be like, "Yeah, I don't know what got into her. She loves these clothes. She loves attention from boys. She's going to be such a little slut when she grows up. I think she gets it from her mother. There's nothing I can do about it." And she would say it really loudly in my earshot as a little girl. It was like she was just such a horrible person. But no, there wasn't any apology for that. There wasn't any like there wasn't any reaching out from her about that at all. Did she hate your mom too? Yes, she very much hated my mom. I think like the main reason why she didn't want me in the family, didn't want me to be there and everything was because, I was representative of like the fact that my dad had been with my mom before he got with her. And like my mom has always been like a very young looking for her age. Like when she was 30, she looked like 19. And when she was like 40, she looked like 25. She's always looked young for her age. She's highly accomplished. She qualified really highly at university. She got a science degree. She was like accomplished in things. And um, I think that there might have been some jealousy there or something or resentment. I don't know. Like, it seemed like those sorts of things did come up quite often. Like, she'd bring them up to me, a little girl, in weird ways. Like, she would try to argue me out of being vegetarian, and then I would start telling her about, why I was vegetarian, and she'd be like, "Well, this is all coming from your mother, and your mother's an idiot. She doesn't know the best things in the world, and she's not the only person in the world with a degree. I have a degree too, and I can eat normally." And it's like, well, firstly, not everything I believe comes from my mom. Not every book I've read was written by my mom. I've read a lot of books. I've experienced firsthand all this stuff that has changed my view. Like I've gone to farms and things. And secondly, I don't think that like a fashion degree really compares. And she'd like start throwing things and screaming and shouting, and she would like storm out of the room and argue with my dad really loudly and like throw things. Like this is the level of anger. And she desperately wanted to be smarter than me. She desperately wanted to be the authority, but didn't know how because I was surprisingly smart as a kid. Like, she tried to teach me the difference between ethics and ethnics. No, she didn't know the difference between them. She was like, because my dad wanted to get to know me better because he didn't really know me. He didn't spend a lot of time around me. So we sat one day in the garden. We were talking by the pool. It was like a pond. And we were watching all the fish, and he asked me about my politics and stuff, which is weird to ask like an 8, 9 year old about your politics. But I was like a Lisa Simpson kid. I was writing to my MP about shit, about policies and stuff. I was really passionate about it. It's my project. And he was so we were talking, and it was a really calm, normal conversation. And she came in, she started eavesdropping as she does, listening at a distance, pretending to be doing things, like hoovering your lawn. And she was like, "How dare you? This is so stupid." And she was like, "You can't force your ethnics on people." And I was like, "I'm not forcing anything on anyone. I'm just talking to someone who's asking about it. Like, I'm just having a conversation with my dad." And she was like, "Well, everyone has different ethnics, and you can't force people to feel differently, and it's not acceptable. And, I don't know what your mother's told you, but, we all have different ethnics, and it's okay to have different ethnics." I was like, "Do you mean ethics?" And she went bright red. And I was like, "Because ethics are, like, your ideological views and things, and ethnics is something different. Do you know what ethnics is? And she like went bright red, and then she stormed out and started throwing things and argued with my dad in another room. This is how a lot of my conversations ended with my dad, actually. My dad would come home from work, try to bond with me, and then she would come and argue with us, and then throw a hissy fit in another room, and they would argue loudly for the rest of the day, and I would not see him again. So, yeah, having Tourette's around that person was not, she was not very mentally stable. She was very, very angry and resentful. She used to do a lot of horrible things to me. Yeah, looking back at it, like looking back at some of the adults I knew as a child, it's really interesting to have an adult's perspective because you never really feel like an adult until you remember that you knew adults when you were a kid who were this age. Like I had to interact with a bunch of, 20 to 45-year-olds growing up as a little kid, and I looked up to them and thought they were old. And now I'm that age and I don't feel old and I don't feel in control and I don't feel like I know all the answers. And it's like looking back at that now as an adult myself, I could never treat a child the way that she treated me. That's just, oh my God. Those curtains are absolutely massive, like you're on a stage. No, I don't think they're particularly massive. I think they're just like, um, it's just a style of curtain. I mean, you're not even seeing the top of them. You're only seeing from like, oh my God, yeah, you're seeing less than half of them. They're like twice this upwards. How's TwitchCon so far? So I don't think TwitchCon has really begun yet, so I'm taking today just to enjoy San Diego and maybe bump into a couple of friends and do fun things. There's always parties every single evening around TwitchCon, either by creators or by, companies that sponsor different people and things like this, or by like there are just so many different kinds of people who throw parties and are like, hey, you're coming to our party, aren't you? Huh? And so like one of the biggest things is like deciding what you're going to do with your evenings. Who throws the funnest parties? I kind of feel like if I had that opinion, I totally wouldn't say it on stream because I feel like that's a subtle way to just roast everyone you don't mention. Um, but also, I don't think anyone in the world would be able to take a good enough sample to have a verdict on that, honestly. Usually, the most fun parties get shut down early, though. Like, usually, people cause too much trouble by the end. What? I thought the next stream was Saturday, no? I have no idea when I'm going to be able to squeeze in streams, if I'm honest with you. Shut up! San Diego has the best zoos in the world. Does that interest you at all? Not really. I love animals, don't really like zoos. Excited about the food there? Well, I've had some really good breakfast already, and one of the things that I love about traveling to the US are noodles, especially like drunken noodles or like the really wide, fat, flat noodles. I fucking love them, and I find it so hard to find anywhere who does them in like the UK, I can't even order noodles that wide and flat. So like, yeah, the first thing as soon as I land, every time in the States, flat fucking noodles. I still remember when you talked about the Brussels sprouts you had in Las Vegas. Were they in Vegas? I thought those were in San Diego too. I could swear that was when I took a bunch of the my viewers that I know from chat, from a meet and greet. I was like, hey, do you want to come and have dinner with me? And I got like a bunch of them, and we all went and ate dinner. After we went and walked to a like a yeah, I'm pretty sure that was in San Diego. And they were like really, really good. I vividly remember being on like a restaurant on a pier, and we were sat in the sun, and the sun was beginning to set. And I think it was just before or after, like we went on a ferry ride together somewhere as well. That was really cool. And we sat. Oh, and a guy gave me a really cool hat as well. And we ate Brussels sprouts, and the sprouts were like covered in balsamic vinegar, and they were like cooked in an oven, and they were like kind of oily and really tasty. And I was like, oh my fucking god, I can completely understand why everyone here is so white people happy. Never had that dish again. It was just that once, but it's etched into my brain. We need another one in Vegas so I can ride the gondola with Martin. Yeah, your pictures came out so good. That was great. My favorite thing, my favorite thing about that um was that they had like these, so there were these gondolas in Las Vegas in this hotel. And inside the hotel, I think it was called like the Venetian. They also had like a casino, and they had like this area that opens up and it has clouds painted on the sky, and it had like that change. I think it's a big screen or something, because I swear it turned to sunset and stuff when it got later. But like there were these rivers all the way through with gondolas floating on them with like people singing and serenading you. And there was like a getting married one that was like all wedding themed, and then the rest were like just romantic. And some of them had like four seats and some of them only had two. So like I queued with them, and I was like temporarily just like hanging out with them and talking to them, and I stepped out so that they could have it together. And so when they got to the front, the people singing were mostly men, mostly big burly men who were like la 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 la, and like there was one woman as well. And then when they saw that these two guys wanted a two-seater only to themselves, they randomly just manifested a gay guy out of nowhere. Like they it's like they just reached into their inventory and just pulled him out. He just went ping. They're like, oh, you two want one, do you? And they got a gay guy, and he was the most fabulous man ever. Had a brilliant voice, but everything about it was like, I don't know, like we'll need a gay guy to sing for the two guys for some reason. For some reason, you never know. They might have just been two bros. Like you might even be like that. Peaks and Martin should have got the married one. That would have been cute, to be fair, you know? But I feel like if they want the married one, then one of them needs to fork out for a good ring, honestly. Also, that the whole of that river was just filled with pennies. I wonder if they ever clean out the water and just sweep up all the pennies. There's beautiful hiking all around the city to check out too. I didn't get a chance to for Vegas, but if I ever go again, the Grand Canyon's nearby. I might go to the Grand Canyon, and also they have petroglyphs, like Native American petroglyphs, all around that you can go see, carved into the rock and stuff, which I really wanted to see last time. And what else do they have? I mean, there's plenty to see in Vegas itself, but I feel like it's keyed to a different demographic than me, because like there was loads of ladies with their bum out carrying like feather fans, just walking around handing out leaflets like, hey, hey. And there was like random big black cars with tinted windows that were pulling over going, come on, get in. It's like, what in the fucking GTA is this? Like, am I being abducted right now? What's happening? And there was like lots of food. And there were a lot of the buildings are designed so you can't tell whether it's day or night as well, which can be very disorienting. I want you to meet a raccoon, honestly. I want me to meet a raccoon. Like, it's absurd that I've been to the UK, to the US so many times and not met one yet. I mean, badgers are pretty cool. I mean, I've heard that the badgers in the US are like terrifying, like honey badgers. Nobody messes with honey badgers, right? But, and the weirdest thing is they kind of just look like our badgers, but weirdly your badgers look more British. They like have like the little ears, pokey out ears. They don't have like the proper cat ears like our badgers do. They just have like these very human like ears. Um, and they have like kind of more of a human-y face. Like US badgers have more of a humanish face comparison. If you compare British badger versus honey badger, you'll know what I mean. Like it looks like the US badger would be like, right, mate, you need something. You know, it should be the other way around. But like our badgers in the UK are very sweet and very cute. And like I have walked up to a set and it at night and given them peanuts from my hand. You know, I've sat there with like a night vision monocle. Because back in those days, I used to have a military grade night vision monocle and I used to have a heat vision monocle. I used to alternate between the two. And I used to sit there and just like watch them hopping about and everything. And they'd come over and sniff at me and be like, you okay? Why are you here? Like, why are you at our house? And I'd be like, I don't know, you want some food? Um, and they're like really cute but really fast, but quite sizable too. And they're like they look so good to squish. I wouldn't dare, but I think about it. You know, like I'm a decent person. I'd like to think I'm a bit of a gentleman, and I won't just grab something just because I like the look of it. But damn, um, raccoons can be very aggressive, especially female mothers. Well, that's true of every animal ever. Like, that's just it. That's just social skills. Like, of course. Because, like, I was listening to a Reddit post where there was this guy who was like, is it bad that I'm terrified of my wife now that I've seen her beat a grown man's ass? And I was like, what? Why would you not be like, damn, girl, I'm buying you dinner? That's what I'm talking about. But, like, she apparently was washing dishes in her kitchen and their little toddler kid was playing in the garden in front of the house in full view of her. And this guy, this grown-ass man, leans over the front gate and asks the little girl to come towards the gate. And then he opens their front gate and starts walking towards her. So she ran out there, screaming and shouting, jumped on him, started pummeling the shit out of him, scratching his face and then punching it, scratching his face and then punching it. And her hands were covered in blood. And she was like, you fucking bastard! And like, her husband comes rushing out like, what the fuck are you doing? And picks her up and picks up the child and scooches into his house like, what the fuck is going on? Right? And he was like, is it bad that I'm scared of her now? And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of bad. Like, how that's a very reasonable response to someone trying to abduct your fucking child. Why are you more weirded out about that than the man trying to abduct your fucking child? But apparently the man was just lying on his back, just like, crying. So, like, everything about that made me mad. Like, what the fuck? That's a socially appropriate response for a mother. Like, any mother would do the same for their baby. Like, holy fuck, right? And I just kind of feel like if you're not trying to abduct someone's kids, like, they're usually going to treat you with a reasonable degree of politeness. And I feel like that applies to animals too. Like, if I see a mom and their babies come and investigate me, I just stay very, very still. And I'm like, yep, those are babies. And I let them leave. And I show disinterest as well. Like, I'll look in different directions. I'll itch my nose and stuff. I won't look directly at the kids and things. So the mother will, like, hover, watch the kids observing me. And then the kids will walk away. Like, that's worked with deer It's worked with squirrels. You know, it's worked with cats. Like, showing, like, generalized feigned disinterest. Like, ugh. Yep, nothing's happening here. And the moms will, like, loiter, like, wait, what are you doing to my kids? And the kids just play around your feet for a while, and they wander off. And the mom's like, okay. Imagine being attacked by a squirrel. It happens. You will be hospitalized. Don't underestimate squirrels, especially squirrel mom. I'm telling you now, like, a squirrel mom will fuck you up. Yeah, there was, like, these twin kids who were, like, offering peanuts to young squirrels, and the mom came and, like, hospitalized both of them, like, completely savaged up their hands and arms. So they had to go to the hospital. Like, squirrels will protect their kids, doesn't matter. If it's an Attack on Titan situation where you're, like, a giant compared to them, they will still fuck you up. I mean, I wouldn't try the disinterested approach with baby bears. If I came across a baby bear, I would give myself 3 seconds to be like, yeah, and then like 20 seconds of pure running in the opposite direction, quite honestly. Yeah, if I saw baby bears just wander out the woods towards me, I'd be like, it is most definitely time for everybody to get the fuck out of here. But, like, you know, smaller mothers, I think you can get away with just being very disinterested. You have to pretend though, because like baby animals are the cutest thing ever. But with deer as well, like deer will often leave their young with other mothers or in a safe place while they go looking for food and stuff. And so there are some people who film themselves, and they was just like, I was wandering around on my front porch, or I was just in my garden gardening, and look, and they'll pan towards like a nuzzled up, stock still, wide-eyed little baby, just like, have they seen me? I can't tell if they've seen me. And like, they're like, why is there a baby here? What happened? And what happened is that the mother deemed that family and that house as a safe place to leave their kids. You've been chosen as babysitter, which is an honor. Like if a deer, knowing what fuck faces humans can be to deers, has observed you at a distance and decided, you'd make a good mom. Have my kid for a bit. That means that their instincts tell them you're a decent human being and you better live up to it. You better live up to the responsibility. You better like watch out for this kid, make sure no predators get this kid. You know, just be like, don't touch the kid, leave the kid alone. But like just make sure like if a predator came into your garden, you get out there and you scare it the fuck away and shit, you know? How are you coping with socializing on the conference? I mean, there's a lot of people, and COVID makes us all a bit mental, right? You look great. Thanks. That whole sentence was a mess, but I appreciate it. I've been to so many conventions, I don't give a shit. Like, usually as well, Twitch, strangely, everyone stereotypes Twitch by Twitch chat, I think. But most of the people who actually get off their ass and touch grass and go out into the world aren't the same as like the worst gremlins you'll find on the internet. So it's mostly really, really nice people who come up and they're usually more scared of you than you are of them. It's like the whole spiders thing. Some people are terrified of spiders and they're just a raisin on legs that can't hurt you. Like in the UK especially, where their teeth aren't even sharp enough to penetrate your skin. So like they are just terrified and you are a titan who's just like goomph, 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 bounding towards them and go, "Whoa!" when you spot them because you're terrified for some reason. And they think you're being terrifying. They think you're trying to intimidate them. Like they think that you're being like a big bear, just go, "Roar!" And like they're seeing a T-Rex. Meanwhile, you are looking at the spider like, being all weird and pathetic about it, just like, oh my god, right? So in that situation, the people who have spider anxiety don't realize that they are the more terrifying thing in the room. And you get that as well when you meet people from Twitch. Like, usually they are more scared than you. Usually they see less people than you. They are just like, hi, would you, sign thing and is photo, I'm sorry, I don't talk to girls much, but could we get a photo, please? and they're like holding up the thing for you to sign, and it's like shaking, so it's like a little mini game to actually write it on there. Like that's how scared they are normally. Like it's not usually like some big deal where I'm just like, no, so many people. It's usually like I'm walking through here, and everyone's like, except the guys in maids. I love the femboy maids. They always bring such great energy to it, and they're never afraid. Yes, and they're so slay. Exactly. We need more femboy maids. As an avid tea drinker, how might one enjoy tea in the true British fashion? Any way that doesn't involve a fucking microwave. Dear God, what's wrong with these people? Still don't understand why you would use the microwave to heat it up when you can just use the kettle. Well, the thing is, we have a higher voltage in the UK, so we have a little bit of a privilege. So one of the things is when I make a cup of tea for an American person, they're like, usually like, "Holy fuck, how did you do it so fast?" And it's because we're like, I don't know how to put this politely. We can be trusted with high voltage. So we get lots of electricity. Our electricity is very powerful. So like our straighteners heat up instantly, and our kettles cook water in like less than a minute, right? So it's probably more of a palaver to put it in the microwave, to be quite honest with you, than doing it in the kettle. Trusted, but they won't let you have outlets or light switches in the bathroom. Yeah, because like children still exist and stuff. And I do wonder how many toaster baths happened before that was initiated. But yes, like we don't have any outlets in the bathroom. Like it's not as common to have like an outlet that you can connect like a razor to in in the bathroom. Hello, Bryce. How you doing? Someone asked a question. I was like, "What do you reckon? Think about the streamer versus every time I scroll up to it, for some reason it automatically scrolls down to the latest message at the bottom, so I can't answer the question. I tried to read it, but I can't. Why are you in San Diego? I was conceived there. What? I am so sorry, Bryce, that you know where you were conceived. The boundaries your parents need to learn. I can't imagine knowing where I was conceived. Uh, that is just brutal. The streamer VP get together. What do you think about the streamer VP get together? I don't know what that means. I don't know what that is. Whatever it was, I don't think I was invited. VIP party? There's always like a streamer party. There's always like a partner party or something. I don't know, like a streamer party, something like that. I don't know if that's what they mean. Oh, a partner party. What do we think about it? I don't know. I haven't been yet this year. It's still yet to happen, I believe. But usually it's a good place to meet people that you've talked to online but never met in person. That's usually how I use it. I'm like, hey, I know you. Oh my god. Although I always accidentally end up offending people because firstly, I have a terrible habit of spilling alcohol on people's shoes, but also, um, when I see people in person, the context change makes me not recognize them. Even if I've spent hours watching and following someone, I won't recognize them in person, and it's terrible. I hated having a separate cold and warm water faucet when living in London. Oh yeah, I've seen ones where it's like the one faucet provides hot or cold water. I've even seen them in the UK. But I think one of the many reasons why we have a separate hot and cold one, like taps in places, is because our infrastructure is old. Like that's how it used to be in the olden days, like 200-300 years ago. So like that's how whenever it's repaired, you just work with what's already there, right? I feel like the one tap that does both is a modern feature. It's a more recent change. Are you into anime? It depends on how cringe it is, and it depends on what kind of person it's trying to entice. Yeah. Yeah, I like Attack on Titan and things like that. But yeah, there are certain things that I'm not so fond of. Like I can't stand Evangelion. But I can pay attention to stuff without breaking into a creepy wank over like young teenagers doing stuff. So I kind of feel like I'm just not its target audience personally. Thank you. Who was that? What did you do? Damn it, I'll never know. Evangelion is good. What the fuck are you talking about, Scooby? Okay, so what? Oh, it feels like the try not to get creeped out challenge. You know how there's like try not to laugh. Well, like, can you explain to me what's like bearable about watching a situation where I don't know, there's a young girl and she walks out of the shower and a guy's talking to her and she slips on her back and he magically falls on top of her awkwardly as her towel mid fall falls off of her so she's naked and he lands on top of her and grabs her boob first and then he's laying on top of her for a few seconds in this completely unnecessary scene and then she goes, are you gonna get off me? And he's like, oh, blushing and like, oh, I'm sorry. What about the next one where like the adult, the fully grown adult woman kisses the young childlike boy and goes, I'll give you the rest if you win the fight. Come back in one piece, sort of thing. As he's going up the elevator to get into his mecha suit and fight people. Like, isn't that a bit pedo? Or what about the time where, like, these robbers come in and they try to, like, break into the military facility and, like, they make this adult woman, get undressed. They put a gun to someone's head and they go, I'll kill them if you don't get undressed and jump into the pool naked. And he just stands there giggling and watching, like turned on while this woman swims back and forward in the pool naked. What about the part where in the hospital there is a random another unnecessary scene where he comes to visit one of his childlike friends in hospital and she's laying there unconscious, recovering with loads of gear hooked up to her, and he flings off the covers and masturbates to her. Who? It is genuinely people who like Evangelion are creepy. I'm sorry, but like if I was served a meal and it had a giant cat shit in the middle, and people were like, "It's a really good meal. You can just pick around the cat shit." It's like, no, the cat shit is baked into the meal. It has contributed everything. It's contaminated everything on the plate. There is no picking around the cat shit, right? And the smell of it makes me not hungry anymore. Like, if you're still in the mood to be entertained and you're still, like, in a happy mood, like, this is great. When you see, like, a pedo writer leak his weird problems into a show and you're sat there and you can think about anything other than him being a fucking weirdo and be like, because I can't be immersed. The minute someone puts, like, creepy shit in a show, I'm not immersed anymore. I'm thinking about the producers. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, I'm no longer in the world. I'm in the production screenwriting room, shaking my head like, who the fuck is approving this? Right? So, like, I don't know. I kind of feel like there might be something slightly wrong with people who, like, can pick around the cat shit in Evangelion. Anita's never watched The Boys on Prime. I actually love The Boys. The Boys is great. Like, I think that my problem is not with things being sexual, it's with things being creepy. Like, you can see nudity or sex scenes without knowing that someone with predilections, predatory predilections, made them to normalize other people enjoying the same thing as them. But yeah, like, but if you've never watched Evangelion and you meet someone who's a huge Evangelion fan, red flag. Red flag. I'm sorry. Red flag. Big fat red fucking flag. The Boys acknowledges creepiness, it does not try to pass it off as normal. Yes, so The Boys actually has a subtle running commentary pointing out and showing disgust towards creeps. Like, if someone's being creepy, it is acknowledged as this is a bad thing about this person. Like, this is a horrible, awkward thing. You're not supposed to be, like, aroused by the situation. It's not made in a way that panders to people who want to see this for pervy reasons. It creates the scenes in a way that kind of acknowledges the body horror of it, or acknowledges, like, yeah, you can tell that even though it involves nudity and things, it's not there to turn you on specifically. Like, I don't most people when they saw, like, Homelander drinking the milk, the Homelander milk scene, like, technically that's him being perverse and sexual. But it wasn't presented in a way that would make people break into a wank. It was presented in a way that encourages you to be, like, genuinely like, ah, ah, and that was the point. Yeah, exactly. I feel like the scenes where Huey got harassed by Tech Knight was kind of distasteful. The writers played it off as a joke. I don't feel like they played it off as a joke though, because he wasn't okay after, and they did a good job of acknowledging that it's not a joke when this stuff happens. It does genuinely cause, like, psychological damage. I've seen, like, so many shows touch on men being sexually harassed, and then everyone's like, ha 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 ha, he's not a threat, ha 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 ha, how silly. But nobody actually acknowledges that, like, you might have, like, full on fucking trauma from that, and, like, you might get flashbacks and genuinely fucking cry, and that you might need to talk to your partner about this after, and that it might fuck with you sexually and stuff. And they actually depicted all of that complexity to those experiences in a way I rarely ever see men get. I rarely ever see men get to be emotional about it, get to be upset or hurt by it. They're kind of just expected to laugh it off, or the audience is expected to laugh it off. But yeah, they kept retouching on it and showing that Huey was not okay. Huey was traumatized, and that is a reasonable reaction, you know? And Huey was shown empathy. Huey was, like, listened to and still loved and not judged by his partner. Like, I think all of that was not passed off as a joke. I think that's the most seriously I've seen it taken, quite honestly. Thank you, Rain. I appreciate it. I really do. True, it was handled really well by the show. I didn't think too hard about it. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to keep up with just how much chaos happens, but yeah, like if you really think about it, Huey, like the way that
One
they
man's
touched on
trash is another man's favorite anime.
it. True, but like, just don't expect it to but just know that if you have a favorite anime that just happens to involve a lot of like really pedophilic themes, that people can acknowledge that and be a little bit concerned about that. Casey, thank you so much. Does America sell ginger wine? I've never tried to buy it in America. So I don't know. I like it. I like how it's just and you can pay like 4 quid, 5 quid for an entire bottle of ginger wine in the UK, which is amazing. She has a 300-year-old soul in the body of a nope. Yes! Oh my god, I'm so glad. One of the things I used to like anime as a kid, but I was like this needs improving because it's written by out of touch people who have perversions, and I kind of feel like it's a beautiful art form wasted on perverts. So it was like one of the reasons why I wanted to be an animator was because I wanted to make like realistic, believable characters in fantasy worlds. Because the unrealistic nature of the characters and how it catered to perversions was like something that really worried me and like was off-putting about anime for me. So like yeah, I like anime as a medium, but there were definitely tropes that got a pass back when I was young that don't now. Like the idea of like a child with the mind of a 3,000-year-old demon or something, so that it was acceptable to like the pedo line of like them having romances and stuff with adults was considered acceptable because don't worry, she's really a grown-up. Wink, 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 wink. I mean, we even do it with game characters where they'll look and sound like a 9-year-old, but they'll be like, don't worry, she's 25. Wink, wink. She just looks young, you know. And it's like, you ever watch the well-known animes? Yeah, quite a few of them actually. Cutting it super close with Asian looks. Yeah, or sometimes just unapologetically being like that. I remember there was a show called Excel Saga where I was a kid who really played on that meme. I feel like it was the first time I'd ever seen it criticized. Because they had a character in it who was like a spy who was like 45 years old but was like looked like a little girl, like a little girl. And she because she was actually an adult woman, she secretly had adult female attributes. She just hid them. So when a man took an interest in her, she was like, "Oh, not many men take an interest in me because of the way I look." And there was like the scene where she unzips, and it turns out she has massive boobies, and it turns out like you don't see them. She's like, "Finally, I can unload my massive boobies," and like all like the other stuff that denotes being an adult woman. And the guy was like, "Oh my god, no!" And like it was meant to be like very critical and like this whole flip scene, like revenge on the creep kind of scene. Exactly. And it was the first time I'd ever really seen it pointed out and criticized and inverted and flipped on its head. And since then, it's gotten more and more socially acceptable to call out anime and to be like, yeah, there are too many creeps we're allowing to make this shit. In Sailor Moon, the main character isn't even in high school, but her true love interest is in college. Mm. 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 Tazorian, thank you. I think there's always going to be a good side and a bad side to anime. Yeah, but like with the whole PDF file aspect, it's completely erasable. I'm sorry, but like I don't think it's there's always going to be a good and a bad. We could completely erase all creepy anime like tomorrow. We could absolutely do that. We could make it too socially unacceptable to be like that to the point where nobody could run a business like that anymore. It just doesn't get bought, doesn't get sold. Anyone who tries goes to prison. You know, we could totally get that world. That is totally doable. This does not need to be the bad side of anime. The bad side of most shows is just poor writing and shit. Like, if you were to go and watch something on Netflix, it's not very likely that you're going to come across something that's like pedo porn disguised as a show. You know? Like, she's naked for the plot, I swear. There's a canonical reason why it's absolutely essential. Like, that shit just doesn't fly these days. We see through it. We're like, really? Again? Nah. And we should. We should totally have a world where that's weird. Because it is. It is. And we're smarter now. Agreed. It's weird as fuck. And I feel like it would uphold the belief that like men have grown and don't have archaic kind of like stupid not thought through ideas anymore and can actually spot this stuff. Like if anime evolves, it shows that their viewership is evolving, so I think it's something we should be aiming for. San Diego, my hometown, I hope you enjoy your weekend here. This was the place where I found a random guy passed out in the grass and I was like, oh, free friend, because I was drunk and I like after we made sure he wasn't dead, I like picked him up and was like, "Where are you headed? Are you okay? Do you need like an Uber home? Where do you live?" And we looked after him and we got him home. And I see him at other conventions now. I'm like, "You're still alive!" It's like it's like when it gives me the same feeling as when like I take in like a rescue wild animal, like a baby hedgehog that's been like injured or something, and I nurse it back to health, and it has like a distinguishing feature, like one white ear or something. And then you come across it in the wild while you're like walking. And you're like, yeah, you're still alive! Yes! Yes! Like, it has those vibes. Like, you succeeded in life, you're in the wild, and you're flourishing. I really need to learn how to drink water. It's piss! Typical US tap water. This is actually cream soda. This is actually cream soda. It's pretty good. That's tap water if I've ever seen it. Are you from the States too, by any chance? You should look around for a roommate for Peter. Somebody beefy who can handle himself if it comes to that. I wouldn't like Peter has me. Like I've finally succumbed to the fact that I don't think Peter's ever gonna have any other friends. I think he just wants to be friends with me and that's it. And occasionally the odd visitor sometimes, depending on the visitor. Isn't it treats o'clock? Possibly. I don't know how I'm gonna get the treats to them from here. Like I could like just bring a packet with me and just try and like throw it really, really hard. Don't worry. I always leave a pet sitter or two with my pets, so it's all good. they're all getting treats. Remote control dick. But yeah, anime is pretty cool, but not all of it's good. And I feel like we've got a few years as yet before people are no longer embarrassed to admit um that they like anime, honestly. What do you think of Dragon Ball Z and Naruto? Do you know? I still don't think I've watched Naruto, but I have watched Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Z is also a creep fest. Like it's weird that that was a children's show, to be honest with you, because it has a lot of fucked up things about women. Um, so like, and the actual books are worse. Believe it or not, the books are fucking worse. Oh my god. It's one of those shows that didn't age well. Now that people have common sense, like it's a bit unbearable to watch back. Like this shit can go over your head as a kid, but when you look at it as an adult, you're like, fuck, I would never have let my kid if I had kids, I would never let them watch this show. Jesus, not because of the violence. The violence is fine. Like, did you see that video where like this mom was like, if you have kids, right, play Roblox with them. Play Roblox with them. And she showed that she was playing Roblox with her little boy and she saw a counter at the top of the screen and it just said women and a number that was perpetually going down because the aim of this little session in Roblox was to kill all of the women in it, and like her son is like 5 or some shit, like really young. And the recommended little mini games underneath, I don't know how Roblox works, but like all of the recommended games underneath for Roblox were like kill like kill the NPCs in brackets, and it was a picture of like a scared woman on her back and like all this sort of stuff, and they were all other little games that were denoted around killing women, hurting women, harassing women. So she was like, "Yeah, you need to pay attention to what your kids are doing. You really do." Mm. You're very close to Mexico, you know. Okay. Yep. Can sneak in. If I wanted to go to Mexico, I would just go. Like I wouldn't sneak. Why would I want to sneak anywhere, especially into a country? That sounds stupid. Are you looking forward to TwitchCon? Absolutely. Oh, I watched a very like American hobby, like recreational hobby. I've never really seen very much of it or as much of it in like the UK. It's called racial profiling. Have you ever seen that? Because like that happened at the airport. Um, so I always travel with someone. I never travel alone. And we were just about to board the plane. Got through all of the security, and this lady beckons us over and says, "Hey, you two, over here." We walk over, and they're like, "I just need to scan your devices and check your shoes." And I was like, "Okay." And I like handed over my phone, thinking this was just a normal part of the whole thing, right? I handed over my phone, and she's like, "Oh, I don't need yours." I was like, "Okay." And then my friend, they had him hand over all of his devices, and she swiped a little thing over it. And then she asked him to take off his shoes and swiped the inside of his shoes. And I was like, why didn't you need to do my shoes? And then I was watching loads of other people, very white people, passing us by to get on the plane. And I was like, don't you need to check theirs too? And she's like, no. And then I looked up, she took down the names and everything, put them down. And I was like, looking at the names that had been written down. Oh, like, so they wrote down my friend's name. And it was below a couple of other names. And like, the names were like Ahmed and Mohammed. And I was like, what the fuck? And like, I was like, and we walked away, and he was so chill about it. He's like, huh? And it happens. And I'm like, we're the same color. Maybe, why do you? And I was just like, so flabbergasted. And also, I was like, I asked the lady immediately. I was like, what are you testing for? What can I just ask? What does this machine do? I was watching everything so keenly with curiosity. And it was like a little piece, like a little tongue, just going then on the end of a device. It was like a little wand with like this weird, kind of dirty looking, like bit of tape sticking out of it. And like, I was like, what does that do? And she's like, oh, it tests for traces of illicit substances. I was like, but I looking at my friend who doesn't even do alcohol, like doesn't even do coffee or tea, like won't even do caffeine, right? And I was like, what? Yeah, it's a random check. Yep, absolutely. It felt so random as all the white people walked by. Also, I was like, how does the mlem know if you have drugs? Like, how does it test for all of the drugs? Like, how does this completely piece of... It was completely dry, unsticky, non-porous, not wet. And I was thinking to myself, how the fuck does this detect jack shit? Like, how... What? I would like to know the science. Is this just a form of intimidation? I need to look up how this machine works. Because it seems rather dubious. Blah. You say that like 9/11 is all the reason for this, but that seems weird to me because like if profiling was based on any kind of logic or reasoning, that would be like I don't know, always checking single men for guns before letting them into schools and churches. Like but I don't think that profiling should be a thing, but I don't think it's based on anything like any real events. I don't think it's actually based on demographics who do anything. I think it's based on like prejudice and stuff. Like I don't think it's based on actual events ever. It's just to make other people think that they're actually doing things to protect people. Yeah, I could see how that would be very performative, but I don't know. I wouldn't like to jump to conclusions because for all I know, the weird little lem thing on a wand that licks your shoes, like maybe that does do something. Doesn't look like it does something, but maybe it does. Maybe I just can't see what it actually does. You know. Security theatre is why I got my arts degree. What? Security theatre? That sounds like such a good way to put it, actually. I like that. What a good name. We all have feet. Yes, but not all of us have drugs. But I feel like I would have been more comfortable with, like, I don't know, like a sniffer animal. Like, did you know that Gambian pouched rats can detect like things like drugs and tuberculosis and mines? Like, I kind of feel like I would rather, if I was getting racially profiled for anything, I would want to be sniffed by a Gambian pouched rat, like just a big ass dog-sized rat, that comes up and goes, "She's good." And then gets a slice of banana. Like, it'd be even better if you get to give them the slice of banana. Like, if you don't have drugs, and then, then you get to give the little rat a slice of banana. Like, they should do that. That would be way cooler. Then I'd be excited. I'd be like, am I gonna get profiled? Ah, you know? What do you smell like? See, when there are demographics of people that when they ask that, I'm not creeped out. But for some reason, I don't know, is it valid that I'm not always comfortable answering that question when it's asked in chat? Like, that I can't always tell tone of voice in chat. Well, I don't know if it's I'm looking for perfume recommendations, hun. What's your favorite scent? What are you wearing? Or if it's someone who's like, what do you smell like? So I can find something similar and rub it on my waifu pillow. Like, because there are both kinds of people in the world, and I would rather choose not to answer one of them. You know? Oh, you can be sus about 80% of what comes out of chat. We are what we are. You don't have to associate with, you don't have to like be like, yes, we, about those people. They're not the rest of you. It's okay. Like, I know the difference, mostly. Mostly. Sometimes I'm mistaken, but mostly. What are you looking forward to the most? I'll tell you if I actually do it, because I am planning to. Then I'll let you know after I've done it. Because yeah, I don't want to get my hopes up and then not do it. And eat with the plans. The world is gonna end soon. Well, I'm not 9 years old anymore. Like, all of my plans are so uplifting and bright and flowery and nice now. I don't want to be like any of the things I wanted to be when I was 9. Let's put it that way. Whoop! Shut up. I don't think she's gonna dominate the world from San Diego. Well, now you're making it a challenge. Like, what, you think I couldn't dominate the world from San Diego, of all places? We have media coverage here. Like, I have a better chance than some places. The thing is, like, when I was in LA, I was scared of earthquakes. But I don't remember if I checked if this place would be fucked if there were earthquakes too. Does San Diego get earthquakes? Feels like a really inconvenient place to convene so many drunk people. Like, everything about this place is just centered around drunk people. Like, every other car is basically like one of those man pedaled chariots with music blasting, you know? Like, there was one ahead of me on the Uber to my hotel, and it was just going, feel my knees, do, 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 feel my knees. And I was thinking to myself, like, I was like, this is so unsafe. They're on the road, and they're gonna be caught. There was a bar. There's a bar where everyone's pedaling. Like, there's like a ring of people all pedaling, and then hopefully a sober person who like directs it with the handles. It's this long bar where everyone's pedaling and just drinking at the bar and laughing and listening to music. I was like, this is so dangerous. This is all how is everybody still alive? I was like, oh, I am a grown up now. These are definitely grown up thoughts, right? But yeah, there are so many drunks here. Everything's based around drunks. Like, you find them on the floor, you find them in the roads, you find them, like, sometimes being charted around and carried around and stuff. Like, they're just everywhere. Everything everywhere is about drunks. More than the UK? Oh yeah, definitely more than the UK. Like San Diego feels like when you arrive to this area, everything is centered around drinking, drinks, drink here, drink there, drink on the way to the other place you're gonna drink. Like we've got everything. We've got, it's very much drunk central. Like people casually walk past people just lying on the floor everywhere. And I'm like, should we do something about this guy? Like I don't think he's conscious. And everyone's just like, eh. Do you think your balaclava picture got to the airport? Well, you put baklava, which is a sweet, and I have taken pictures of baklava, and I don't think it had any implications for the airport. I'd be surprised if it did, if they were like checking me with the blem machine for baklava, but I didn't get checked. I didn't get checked. My friend got checked. Like, I tried to let them check me. I thought it was all like, oh, part of the plan. They're like, hey, can we just check your shoes and stuff? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, I was like handing them my phone, and they were like, no, not you. And then they mlemmed his phone instead. Mika's mad that she didn't get randomly screened for drugs. Well, the funniest thing about it was I have a YouTube video where I researched how weed affects my Tourette's, and the guy that doesn't even drink caffeine or take painkillers, has never drunk a sip in his life, is the one who fucking gets tested for drugs right beside me. I'm like, hello? You gotta let some junkies through, though. I just. The thing I almost said. Nope, I'm not. Nope, I'm not gonna say it. I'm not gonna say it. Nope. You'd make a good housewife? I doubt it, to be honest with you. If you saw the state of my house, I don't think you'd agree. Like, I kind of feel like I need a housewife. I don't think I could be a good housewife, but, like, applications open. House husbando? What's a husbando? Where are they from? Well, taking a bloke to America? Well, all my mates are blokes, or at least all the ones that are willing to travel with me are blokes, which I'm fine with. Like, I like being an excuse for my friends to travel, and in exchange, like, I get in less trouble. It's really hard to travel alone. Like, I should not be allowed in an airport alone, honestly. Um, because, like, I hit people, and I shout, "What?" And, like, people go, like, turn to me as if I misheard what they said or was offended. Like, this is the thing. Like, even very normal ticks can get you in trouble in an airport. Like, if you shout, "What?" at people, and they're just talking amongst themselves, they turn to you, like, as if they've said something offensive or you misunderstood them. If you shout bitch or anything like this, you know, or if you like randomly punch or spank as well. I have a spanking tick. I slap things. I don't just slap asses. It's just anything that poke, pokes out. So like anything that has a certain kind of surface to it, whoopsh, you know. There are even patches on my wall where like there's less paint because of it, like because it's just so spankable, right? So all of these things can get you in a lot of trouble. But if you have a friend with you who can either explain to people if something happens, or can just be like a buffer for abuse, because like my friends love abuse. They wouldn't be friends otherwise, you know. My friends love getting called a bitch. What does San Diego smell like? Drunks, like spilled alcohol and ocean. Yeah, it does occasionally smell like weed. Why is that? Is it legal here? Because, I mean, I've been places where it's not legal and it still smells like it, to be fair. Yes, yes, it is. Oh, that makes a lot more sense. Hey, thank you. I appreciate it, sweetheart. I'm Oregonian, and that's so very common. When I read that, I read I'm oregano, and it's very common. Like, I was like, which country is oregano? I thought it was just a food. We call it oregano. Like when people call it, I don't even think we call it oregano. I think we call it something else, but I forgot what it is. What do we call it? What do the British call it? Oh, is it just oregano? Yeah. You guys say it like AI reading out something at a weird speed because they don't know how it's pronounced. Like it gives me the same energy as when like I sometimes listen to Reddit posts that are posted as videos, and it like you started by going I 35 female have a friend 46 male or something, right? But the way that the AI reads it out goes I 34 feet am with my friend 74 meters or something. Like it thinks it's a measurement, which is really funny, and it has that same vibe. When I hear Americans try to describe things, like it's amazing. Yeah, like listening to them try to say aluminium. I think of coriander because Americans still call that cilantro. That's so weird. Don't they call courgette something as they call courgette zucchinis? What the fuck is that? Zucchini sounds like a kind of bikini that is incredibly revealing and has strings in places you don't want them. An aubergine is an eggplant, which is fucking hilarious. Because it looks. It doesn't look like an egg, and it doesn't taste like an egg. It's not even shaped like an egg. What the fuck? Where did eggplant come from? It's either a kind of eggplant or a stage of eggplant when it looks like an egg. Yeah, to be fair, at one point during its growth, it might look a little bit egg shaped, but still. But I guess aubergine sounds French. Is it a French word? Is courgette a French word by any chance? Yeah. I wonder if it was just about trade routes and where we initially got them from, maybe? I don't know. Aubergine sounds so sophisticated, which is kind of funny because when you fry aubergine or cook it in any kind of way, it just looks like pieces of slug. And it feels like pieces of slug. It's like overall, like it looks so pretty. When you first look at it, it looks like some beautiful ripe fruit, and then you cook it, and it's like adding slug slices to your food. Shut up! Back in the 1700s, the Europeans observed these white varieties of brinjols, which resembled eggs of goose or chicken. Thus, they started calling the brinjol with the name eggplant. Eventually, the name became popular in the English language and became a synonym. Huh, interesting. What the fuck is a brinjol? Is that another word for eggplant? It tastes like ass too. Fun fact, have never tasted ass, so I wouldn't be able to compare, but I'll take your word for it. Someone in chat's like, it does not. There's going to be a whole debate in chat now. Today I learned that aubergine is a fruit. It doesn't surprise me that it is, to be honest with you. It does look like a fruit. It's the sass. Is tomato a fruit? Yeah, tomato's a fruit. Why is avocado considered a fruit? Because it has a seed. Like, this is the thing. So fruits are freely given. There are people who are literally fruitarian. They eat nothing but nuts and fruit. The reason why they do this is because they feel that plants feel pain and suffering, and so do animals. So they eat the parts of the plant that are freely offered by the plant that the plant wants you to eat. And the reason it wants you to eat its fruits, and it deliberately makes them tasty, is so that you so that you take them away and plant the seed somewhere else because you don't want to eat the seeds. or because you poop the seeds and the poo is the fertilizer that helps the seed grow. Like my snail, she eats tomatoes and she shits the seeds and they grow in her enclosure. Germination. Yeah, so the whole why something's considered a fruit is not based on whether it's like able to be put in a dessert. It's literally based on whether or not the fruit the tree was like, come out, eat it. Someone, I didn't see the whole comment, but someone was like, this person was a fruitarian and it's why they died of cancer. But like, I don't think that fruit can give you cancer. Like, I'm not a doctor, but I don't think there are any carcinogenic fruit. There are plenty of other foods that do contain carcinogens and are highly carcinogenic. Like, there are some foods that are more carcinogenic, like potentially cigarettes and shit, like, but fruit has never been one of them. Oh my god, the comment section in here. Huh. Well, I haven't read any of that, so I have no take on it as yet, because, like, I can't take everything without researching it first. But maybe I'll look into it and give you my verdict. Because, like, I'm very interested in all things diet and health, quite honestly. Too much of anything can be bad in general. Yeah, isn't it like the dose makes the venom? Because anything at a certain amount can kill you. Like some people drink too much water because there's a drug that you can take that makes you really thirsty, and sometimes people accidentally drown themselves by guzzling too much water. So yeah, like even water could technically be poisonous if you breathe too much oxygen. Like if you were locked in a purely oxygen environment, I'm pretty sure you'd die. Um, like technically if you were able to eat like 10 kilos of bananas in a day, like the potassium might be able to kill you. um yeah, even helium, like helium that you can like take from a balloon and be like yeah, no, that kind of stuff. Like if you breathed pure helium, it wouldn't feel like you were dying, but you would die because it has, it's not air. You're not getting anything out of it. Too many apple seeds for cyanide poisoning. Exactly. You'd be amazed at the kind of stuff that can fuck you up. It's hilarious. Hilarious? Yes, it is, because I'm thinking about it, and one of the things that, like, I have friends who are really, really into weed, and they're always boasting about, no one's ever died of a weed overdose. Nobody's ever died of a weed overdose. And I was thinking to myself, you know what the funny thing is? Yeah, more people have died of an overdose of, like, oxygen and water. Chocolate can actually kill you, but how? I don't know. How could chocolate kill you? I'm intrigued. Lots of heavy metals in chocolate? Really? 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 What? Really? What? The cyanide in pits of plums. Hello, hello? Did I make it back? Did I make it back? Hello? Yes! Okay, well, unfortunately, the internet got spotted just at the right time because I have to go. But it's been fun chatting with you. Thank you for teaching me how easy it is to kill you all. I am going to go and have lots of fun and enjoy the day before all the chaos starts at TwitchCon starting tomorrow. So I will see you again soon. The stream schedule may be all over the place. I don't know. I'll stream when I can. Okay, just when I can. Yes. Have a great trip. Thank you. Hopefully gonna meet with a friend or two and do some stuff. I'll tell you all about it after. Unfortunately, I can't tell you in advance because people are weird. So, but I will tell you after. Bye, Anita. Thanks for the stream. Thanks for being here, especially because it was so shaky getting started and everything. I was trying to get the stream set up for like a good hour, so I'm glad I got to. It's been amazing. Thank you for all the subs and follows, and thank you for being here. I'll see you later. Be good, everyone, okay? Goodbye!